will roll out and,
Yep.
people will get back to normal lives again.
So is all of the, is everybody on council now running again, or is there new people that are going to be running, or?
Oh, I imagine it'll probably be a pretty big group that runs. I'm not sure, if everybody's planning on, going back into it again. It's hard to say. I think, honestly, the last year has been really, really hard. I think just from not only dealing with COVID, just, in our own personal lives and, dealing with, challenges that arise, home front professionally, then you've got council on top of it. It just becomes a lot, right? And taking on everybody else's, I don't want to say emotions, but there's been some hard stories out there, right? So there's people that can't afford bills, there's businesses going down. I mean, you take all that on top of, council can be a stressful thing on a normal regular year, but add COVID into it and it becomes 20 times worse. And because everybody's amped up, right? And I totally understand that. So yeah, it is what it is. So who knows by the time September rolls around. I think honestly, it might just depend on how this year progresses. And let's face it, the start of 2021, at least provincial government wise, has not been overly positive.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. You do your best, but yeah, it's hard to say.
Well, hang in there.
But onwards and upwards, right? And I mean,
yeah.
You know what? I'm glad that I have things like this where you can share sometimes positive stories and good news stories, right? That aren't just necessarily all doom and gloom and that kind of stuff. So anyways, sorry.
You have to decide whether you're going to run, Marnie? I
haven't quite decided yet. I'm kind of on the fence. It'll really depend on kind of what this year brings. And we'll go from there. I mean, if I were to answer right now, I would say sure, but yeah, I don't know. It'll depend. I take more of a beating than some people, right? Because I put it out there, but in that end, you end up taking the criticism to you, right? And that can be hard after a while. I was thankful for the break. When the break hit, I'm pretty sure I probably needed that break 20 times over. But you know what? I feel positive and I have like a resurgence of energy and kind of a great outlook again. So that part's good. Now I just hope it sustains all the way through, or at least a couple months anyways.
Yeah, right on.
I think Lyle has a question.
Hi, Marty, thanks for the update. Nobody envies any counselor, I think, during this last year. It has been tough, and I'm glad to hear most people are agreeing with me on that. I don't hear anybody from my end that's too upset. I got a question for you though on the last council, the budget debate. How did that discussion go in regards to the funding cut to the FCSS? Can you give us a kind of a 20,000 foot overview of how that went?
Oh boy, with the loss of positions?
Yes.
Yeah, it was. No, it's a tough one. It's never an easy decision when you're talking about people and humans, people that you know. And at the end of the day, I mean, Tara made a great comment, or Councillor McFadden. She said, in some cases, we traded infrastructure or roads for people. And it's how some of us feel, right? So it's a tough one as a councillor. I mean, I have to toe the line once we get out, right? You can't bring in your own personal thoughts or sometimes, right, out in public after that decision's made. I mean, so I have to go along with it, but it was definitely difficult this year. It was difficult because the community expected us to bring back a zero. How you get to that zero is an incredibly difficult thing, especially when the budget is already so tight. And we know families are going to be hurting out there, right? So, yeah, it sucks. Frankly, it sucks.
Can I just have a follow-up question? I wasn't trying to put you on the spot, Marnie. Sorry for that.
Oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it.
But a follow-up question was, my concern would be, and this is the true question. Do you think there's a good feel for where we might be headed with the workload that's going to be put on FCSS because of COVID, because of the isolation, because we're suddenly forced into lifestyles that we haven't been used to before? So what I'm worried specifically about is mental health and a lot of those issues that migrate into problems that FCSS will be forced to deal with, increasing workload, decreasing staff. So my only question is simply, is there a good feel amongst the mayor and administration and the councillors about what the horizon could look like, or do we need to kind of advertise that a little more?
I would definitely advertise it. I would say that this council is often sometimes very split. And I'm sure I don't need to point out the divide.
I hear you.
But it's often a very divisive split between one side versus the other. I myself recognize it, and I don't think we've even begin to see the start of some of the especially some of the mental health stuff that's going to happen, and it's going to depend on what ends up happening over the next couple months, right? And people losing jobs, people not affording bills, funding getting cut off. There's no more grant money, right? Like, I mean, there's all those things that come into effect. Parents stressed, they have kids at home. Who knows what it looks like? And I mean, the provincial government has been very quiet. I mean, obviously they're dealing with their own fiasco right now. But even I got messages yesterday where parents are anxious, or like, are things reopening? There's been no real conversation anywhere provincially about what's happening, right? It's still coming, right? But it's like, it's already Wednesday. I can't imagine some business owners that are out there kind of hanging on by a thread, wondering if they're going to open their business next week. They don't even know, right? I mean, I think that the best thing I could suggest is to keep fighting and keep pushing, because obviously there are these half council out there that understand this, right? But again, it becomes majority vote, so you have to be able to sway somebody else in.
Sure. Okay.
And I don't think we're going to hear much before Tuesday next week, or I guess by the end of day on Monday.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. So it's going to be tough, that's for sure.
Yeah, I feel for a lot of people. And like I said, I mean, I know personal stories where people are really hurting right now, really hurting. But I will say, I will give people credit. This community rallies, I mean, not only through the Active Vets, obviously, with the Share Your Christmas program, which was fantastic, but I think there were so many more people this year that even just adopted single people. They found some way to find someone who was in need through friends, or it wasn't necessarily even agency stuff, just the community rallied, and that was fantastic to see. So you know what, Cochrane still has the heart, but I would always encourage us to be loud and proud of the things that FCSS does.
Sounds good. Lyle, did you have anything else to add, or? You've got thumbs up. Hey, I see that.
I have to go on my screen.
You had a comment, Rick?
Yeah, I want to make an observation. I just sent a note to everybody just to say that I asked Marnie a bit of not an embarrassing question as to whether or not she would run again. My observation for you, Marnie, is that during the time that I've known you and your participation on FCSS and your honesty and directness in getting at the heart of things, and by the way, you do wear your heart on your sleeve, which is excellent. You have an ability to dig into issues in a very, very meaningful way for folks in the community. You fight the good fight. So I'm going to say that my vote would be for you to run again. And I'll just stop my comment there.
Thank you.
Okay. So where do we move on from here?
I'm passing the baton. Kim, rescue me.
There you go. It's over to Kim.
I'll rescue you, Marnie. I didn't think I had a whole lot because December seemed pretty quiet, but I actually have an entire page of stuff to tell you guys. Surprisingly, some good news. United Way Calgary and area did renew our funding partnership contract with us for the grants for the exact same amount of $65,621.
And is it for 3 years?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So in the contract itself, it says to a maximum of 65,621. So there's a bit of that protection there for United Way as well. But I think it looks good. So we have our funding for this year, because I don't know if you remember at our last meeting, we said we had to hold off until we actually got confirmation because we weren't sure. So
nice.
yeah, we're good to go there. Just wanted to let people know we have a practicum student starting with us January 12th, so next week. It is a fourth year social work student that will be working with our frontline social workers. And we are super excited. So this is one of our strategies to try to build some capacity organizationally and get people trained so we could perhaps look at creating a casual pool again of resource workers to be able to call in and support. So that's super exciting. She doesn't know any of that. It's a bit of a secret, but we're recording this and it's going live to the world. So apparently it's not a secret anymore. But we want to create a bit of a pool because our resource workers are spread pretty thin. And if somebody's away, we don't have that frontline support for those people that need that crisis assistance, or like Marnie was saying, help with utilities, and that whole piece is done by our resource team. So
how long do you have her for?
4 months.
Oh, nice.
So she'll do a practicum, which we'll be able to do all the training. And then if she's a good fit, then we could look at potentially doing some casual work as well. Speaking of getting in front of council, I will be there Monday night. So if you want to log on and watch me, you are more than welcome to. We'll be doing the FCSS update. So recently, we've been invited, all the different sections of the town have been invited to go to council and just provide a bit of an update on what's happening. And mine is Monday. So
And how long do you have on the agenda?
nobody actually gave me a solid deadline.
So you can take as long as you want. Yeah.
My presentation, so what was supposed to happen is I was supposed to present to council on November the 23rd, I think it was. It was back in November anyways. And then when the staffing changes happened within our department, that was the same day that I actually had to notify staff and let them know of the decision. And my presentation was canceled because I just didn't have the ability to be able to move forward and probably do that with dignity and grace. So I am back on Monday to do it and provide a bit of an overview. But I think it's a pretty good presentation. I'm hoping I'll be tweaking it lots this week just to make sure that we capture exactly what it is that we do and help council understand the impact that our services have on the community, because I think that's.
We can't log on. Are you able to share that presentation with us?
You can go back and watch. So
Okay.
all council sessions are recorded, so you can watch at your leisure, Mark, as many times as you desire.
You can watch it live too, Marg.
Yeah, just you said it was Monday night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the only thing, but no worries.
But no, you can go back and watch, and we can watch it for fun next month at the board meeting and poke fun at me and my stuttering when I'm presenting. But
we're like a new Netflix, don't worry.
right.
Pop some popcorn and you can start watching all sorts of sessions.
Yeah, it's kind of true. So I'm doing a run through with our team on Friday. I like to practice in front of my group first to do a dry run through, and then they provide me with feedback and make sure I haven't missed anything critical. So yeah, watch on Monday and give me any feedback that you have. Also, I'm not sure if people are aware, but our new CAO started on Monday. So he's day 3 into his role. His name is Mike Derricott. So now that Mike's in place, that means Drew is moving back to his previous position of General Manager of Development and Community Services. So we're going to have a little bit more transition here at FCSS.
Yeah.
Over the past year, I've had Riley Weldon as my general manager, and now we're just making that transition. So I'll move back to having Drew kind of support us. So we'll be doing some more like education and kind of teaching that part again. But yeah, I think it should be good. The only other things I wanted to let people know, I can't remember if I mentioned this last time, but we are in progress of creating an annual report for FCSS to highlight the work that we did over 2020. We're getting there. It should be done by Monday and out for print. And it's actually a pretty incredible document. When we went back and looked at what we've done over the past year, it's actually freaking incredible that any of us in this building are standing and smiling and laughing, and things are going as amazing as they are. We have a front picture that just kind of really quickly sums up the year. But in 2020, we've lost $700,000
Yeah.
in grant funding. So that's provincial funds, that's municipal dollars, and then a couple of other grants. We've lost 12 positions and 7 programs in a time during COVID, right? And our team literally kicked some real serious butt from March on. Like even though all the massive changes were happening, our team responded. We've met every single community need, exceeded what needed to be done. And that was throughout like a time when we were losing our colleagues and our peers. So looking back on the year, it's actually really incredible. And this book we'll give you guys all a copy, and we'll give you multiple so you can hand them out with pride being part of us. But we will be sending these to, of course, council, doing some education with our administration as well on what FCSS is and why we're so important. But this book does a pretty good job of explaining it, and we'll be sending it out to our MLA and to the province. We still have one more budget to get through. Our provincial FCSS budget will be announced February or March. And so we need to do some big advocacy work, because we can't lose any more grant dollars, and we can't lose any more people to be able to do the work that we're doing. So
Have you heard anything from them on how, okay,
no,
whether or not they're going to be looking at cuts or?
we haven't heard anything explicitly. At the we had a bit of a provincial update, I think it was back in November, and basically we're encouraged to advocate for what we do. We know Will Marnie said it pretty good. Roads and that bricks and mortar and some of those things always seem to be perceived to be more important than some of the social kind of stuff. Prevention especially seems to be one of the very first things on the chopping block. And it's actually, when you cut those areas, it ends up to be incredibly costly for the community. So they're really easy, but very short-sighted decisions that are often made. And we just got to make sure that we're spreading the word on the importance of that and the impact of what happens if those aren't there anymore. So we are working on the document, and once it's ready, I'll make sure it gets out to everybody. But yeah, it is pretty beautiful. Corey Lahoda and our admin team is doing lots of incredible work on that.
How are you making that available to the community at large?
How will we make it available?
Yeah.
It'll be available on the website. We'll blitz it out through Facebook and that whole piece as well. And then we'll be sending out paper copies with letters. I'm putting together a fact sheet as well on FCSS and some of the highlights that'll go out to MLAs and our ministers and stuff too. So
A fact sheet is a really good idea.
yeah, we're trying everything. And then lastly, strat planning. So we're still in the midst of strat planning. We were paused for a little bit after the municipal stuff. I just had to kind of take a step back and go, whoa, I just need to wait. But we're starting to regroup. I don't know if you can see my office, but literally it's like massive papers. I have like strat planning wallpaper in my office now with everything all over. And we're starting to review all the different programs that we have offered in the past and figure out what can we do moving forward. We have to make some changes here at FCSS. We're we're down 12 team members, so we can't be putting out the same amount of work that we were in the past, not without completely killing my team. So we have to make some big decisions on what are our priorities, what's important, what can be dropped, and actually stick to it and not just continue to do like we have been. And even though people are gone, you actually wouldn't know it from the service levels that are coming out here. But like where our doors are opening with people at 6:30 in the morning, and our doors are closing sometimes at 6:37 at night, and it's just not healthy. So we need to look and make some big decisions and figure out what are our priorities and how do we do what we do with our new realities. So
Are you all back in the office now, or?
no, we are rotating still. So with the new restrictions that came out, we reduced our numbers again. So we have about 5 of us, 4 to 5 at FCSS, and then 3 to 4 over at the FRN now. And the bow is closed. So we're kind of operating skeleton crew. Even though people aren't on site, they're still working from home though. But we've just removed, like kind of reduced our numbers on site.
You're working in the office tonight.
I
You
work in
go
the
home
office.
yet?
I never go home. No, I actually, I've been in the office full time. So we're not doing rotational teams. We're just reducing the number in the office. We don't have enough resource workers to actually do a rotation anymore because we're like fully operating 2 separate facilities, and we don't have enough admin anymore to do a full rotation either, and we don't have enough me's to do a full rotation. So there's a few of us that are in all the time consistent, and then some people that are going back and forth depending on. That's it for me. I'm sorry, that was very, very long-winded. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Yeah, can I ask one, Kim?
Yeah.
Have you heard of any groups or organizations, especially with our last, funding and grants that we handed out? Is anybody banding together, or trying to help each other out more than maybe what we were aware of before? Is anybody kind of coming together, sharing, kind of almost like amalgamating ideas and, maybe turning into like one organization or anything along that line? Have you heard anything, or are people still kind of running silo right now? Because I think the one thing is that collaboration is going to be key going forward. And especially, you're right, if there is any more funding cuts, there are things that are just going to go down in general. So, I don't know if there's been chatter or maybe some groups starting to work together and piece things together, right? Especially if there's some overlap there. I'm not sure if you've heard anything.
I haven't heard anything in particular about like amalgamation or anything of organizations. One of the things I can say about Cochrane is there actually isn't tons of duplication of services. I think overall, we're pretty good at connecting and having like-minded organizations come together and meet regularly and talk about what's going on. So I think Cochrane's probably one of the better communities at leveraging dollars, not duplicating and working together to fill those gaps. But I haven't heard specifically about pooling resources necessarily or any of that, Marnie.
Okay. So is that it then does anybody else have any questions or? Okay, Nicole, you'll have to help me out. What's next on the agenda? Oh, we've got board election, chair and vice chair. So Kim, do you want to go into that? Maybe that would be better if you explained it.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get into the actual like election piece, I'll just do like a quick overview of the process because it's probably, well, it is a little bit different being virtual, but we have to do nominations for both the chair and vice chair positions. So we do this every January. Marg and Rick haven't been disbanded from their positions for bad behavior, just want it out in the open. It's just the process. So you can either nominate another board member, or you can put your own name forward if you're interested in a position. So it can go either way. With us virtual, it's probably easiest for people to type in the chat if you want to throw names up. Just to clarify, even if you put a name up, I have to ask that person to see if they accept. Just because you choose Lyle or Ryan, they actually have the opportunity to say no. So I'll go through, make sure everyone is willing to be nominated.
Is that actually like a democracy, which is what the US is going through right now?
Yeah, so I'm gonna get everyone to put your firearms away. We're gonna do this peacefully, you guys. And then what'll happen is if we have two people that are interested in running for the same position, then we do a vote. But because we're virtual, it's a little bit different. So if we do have two or more people, Nicole is going to incredibly quickly and with incredible stealth put together a Survey Monkey. The link will go into the chat, and then everyone can go on, vote completely anonymously, and then we'll be able to announce. So normally we do this by paper ballot, but
We
it would
didn't
just
do it
take
by
us.
paper ballot last year. We just did it by roundtable, but whatever works.
But we only never had two people last year. Everyone got in, I think, by acclamation.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if there is only one person, then you're like automatically acclaimed in. This is only if we have two or more people for the same
Yeah.
position that we have to go to a voting.
Are
And
Mark and
it's more,
Rick automatically out? Like, have they done their length of term that is it the amount of time that they can stay in those positions, or they could be back in?
yep,
Okay.
they can be renominated.
I'm sure they're excited there.
Yeah, well, it is a super thrilling position.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right, Rick?
Mark, before we go
question.
into, do you want to share a little bit about what the chair position involves, and so people know what they're getting into?
Well, to be honest with you, I think for all of us, it's a joint committee. We're very fortunate on this committee that everybody seems to really play well in the sandbox together. So being chair is not that much of a challenge. I don't know from Rick's perspective, but it's a good sound group. And I think everybody has been, again, contributing as they want to. And as far as the chair goes, I don't think I've had to step into anything or over challenge anybody.
Yeah, and I'd add my 2 cents as well. And I think Marg summarized it really, really well. This is a group that works incredibly well together. Just the idea that I can back Marg up is fine. But at the end of the day, I think the whole committee works well to decision. That's my 2 cents.
Awesome. So it's not painful whatsoever. Do not be afraid. It's fun. You get to get a sneak peek of the agenda sometimes before it goes out to the public. So there's some perks on being part of the chair. So with that, I will start the whole election process. So we'll start with the chairperson, and I'll open the floor up if anyone would like to either nominate somebody or put their own name forward to be chair.
I've got nothing in the chat so far.
So again, it's a super fun position.
Well, does this mean if I'm happy to stay on, I should also say that? Or if Rick's happy to stay on, he should say that? Do we need to do that or?
You can put forward, Mark. Yeah.
I will nominate Marg to stay on as chair. she's done a great job. I think she's kept us on track. Sometimes even better than even what we've even anticipated that we're going to be. If she wants to stay on, I would be happy to have her on. I mean, I'd be happy to have Rick on too if he wants to stay. I know that probably Rick, he has more, I know he has lots of committees on the go other than this one. So I don't know if he necessarily wants that extra workload, but what if they both stayed? I'd be totally happy. I mean, it's why I didn't choose to leave this advisory committee either. And so, every year as council members, we get the choice of, having rotating around or whatever, but I'm like, oh, it's such a great mix of people. And I agree. It's a good mix of personalities and coming to decisions together.
Awesome. Thanks, Marnie. So I have Mark's name up for nomination. Mark, do you accept the nomination?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
And just to be clear, is there anybody else that's interested in the chair position before? All right. I need someone to make a motion to nominate Mark for chair for the FCSS board for 2021. Thank you, Mark.
No worries.
I'll make the motion.
I can make the motion.
Okay, and then a seconder.
I'll second it.
Thanks, Ryan. Awesome. All right, so vice chair, same rules apply. Is there, so I'll open up the floor for nominations for vice chair. Marnie, put your name forward. Rick, are you willing to accept having your name put forward?
Oh, absolutely.
Awesome. And is anybody else interested in putting their name forward for vice chair? I love that this group doesn't avoid like eye contact, but you guys just look at me with your mouths closed.
Silence is golden, isn't it?
It's true. All right, well then I'm going to need a motion to have Rick in the position of vice chair for 2021.
Well, seeing as how everybody said I could stay as chair, I'll make the motion for Rick.
Awesome, thanks Mark. And a seconder.
I'll second.
Thanks, Val. All right, well, nominations are closed officially. So thanks to Mark and Rick for stepping up again for another year.
Well, again, I think Rick said the same thing. I have to say, it's really been quite nice working with everybody. I don't know if that's the right word, but boy, it's a great bunch.
Yeah, and
I agree.
my 2 cents worth is just when we go through the grant process and all of that stuff, how diligent everybody is, but how everybody tries to work together to get to the common solution. And I thought this last year was just phenomenal in terms of process. Thank you to Kim and the team, by the way, but it was really good for everybody on the board.
Absolutely. Okay, so now again, Nicole, I don't know what's next on the agenda. Oh, confidentiality agreements. So are these up now for renewal again, Kim, or we just reinforce the agreements that everybody signed earlier?
Nicole, you sent them out by email, correct? So what we'd need is everybody just to resign and send them back to us.
We have to do that every year as well, then I'm gathering.
Yeah.
Okay.
And basically what this form, I know I talk about it every year, but sometimes being on the board, you are, although with us recording meetings now, I guess everyone can know everything, but as the board, you are sometimes provided with more privileged information, and it's just a reminder that everything that we discuss is confidential, especially if we ever do any client or anything like that. Just a reminder that everything that we talk about, in some sense, the sensitive information is confidential.
Okay, so
Does anyone have any questions?
when would you like us to get those back to you, Nicole?
Whenever they didn't give me a hard deadline, so I would say if I give you guys too long, though, you probably will forget to
That's true.
give them back to me. I would say over the next couple weeks, if everybody could sort of have them back via email or drop them off through the door slot here at FCSS, whatever kind of works for you.
Okay. You said in your email that digital signatures were okay.
They are. Yeah.
Which is good. Okay. Does that sound good to everybody? Okay, are we okay to go on to the standing agenda items? Kim, what did you have, what
We
did you intend to do here?
So we just put this on every single time, just to review the agenda every year and make sure that it's what we want to be talking about. So understanding items, we consistently have fundraising, Cochrane Cares, United Way update, rural update, and caregiver support update. So just wanted to check in and see if anything should be eliminated or if we should be making additions to those standing items.
It's good by me. What does everybody else think? Is there anything anyone else would like to add as a standing item?
I'd like to make a change to Cochrane Cares and maybe change that to community trends to start us maybe thinking more about what's happening in the community and what are the trends or issues that people are seeing.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. As I'm sure we all do, you know. Yeah.
Do we want to add maybe an update? And I don't know if they need to be done every meeting about the social recovery task force, because I know that I think it's been extended until June, I believe, kind of like the economic one. But maybe if we have a quick update as to what they're working on, or that might be a part of the trends too. But I don't know if you want to throw that one in there too, Kim.
Yeah, we definitely can. And then we'll just remove it when the task force is complete, which should be June of 2021. No, I think that's a great idea, Marnie.
Okay. Does that sound good to everybody, or is there anything else anyone would like to add?
Can we, I'm hoping that this discussion on the advocacy part that we talked about at the last meeting works into something that will be renewed or re-energized every meeting. So can we, or is it appropriate to add that to the standard business, that there may be an update from, we rotate through, each member gives an update of what they did the last 4 weeks or whatever. But what I know for true is that what gets measured gets done. And if we don't keep this in front of us and alive, then I'm afraid it'll just, through all good intentions, it'll die a natural death. So I'd like to see us put this, whatever comes out of our advocacy for FCSS as board members discussion, I'd like to see us talk about that each meeting.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. Nicole, would we put that under standing item or keep that as new business?
What do we have under ongoing business advocacy and awareness for FCSS? Is this something different then? Or is that what we've
No,
got?
we would just make sure, I think maybe we should move it under standing item and then we can ensure that
Okay.
it's there every time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like, yeah, I would agree with that.
I just always have to check in with Nicole because she knows the rules of all the agendas and
Yeah.
how everything works.
Okay, so we'll hold off talking about that till we get there then.
Yeah, but we will move that for our next meeting, Lyle, to have it under standing items.
Okay. So is that, well, actually that's next on the agenda. So are we good with the new business and we'll go on to ongoing business? And then this advocacy and awareness, I know I didn't have a chance to go in and do anything on that. And I know, Lyle, you really wanted us to try and get some information in there over the holidays. And I can't say that it was because I was so busy going to parties, but I don't know, did anyone populate that with any information?
Yeah.
Is
Nicole,
there any way you can share that with us or? Oh, there we go.
so we had quite a few suggestions. Contact our MLA, Peter Guthrie, by email, phone regarding provincial funding support for FCSS, request a meeting. Make this a regular meeting of some sort. Use personal Facebook accounts to keep FCSS in front of Cochrane residents. Use examples of the positive impact FCSS organization has had in Cochrane. Kickstart good news stories from FCSS for 2021. Phone town council mayor about supporting FCSS, keep it in front of them. Talk with the town administration, Drew Heineman, about looking to the future well-being of Cochrane post-COVID when making funding decisions. Use examples of good news stories, see below regarding new CAO. We can reference some of the reports. As board members, target one conversation a week in our communities regarding FCSS. Advertise FCSS on some billboards or electronic signs in the town and local radio station. Go to some service club meetings to speak about FCSS and discuss resources available. Request a meeting appointment with the new CAO. Introduce board short introduction as to the challenge FCSS has faced and met during the pandemic. Visit sites that have received funding as groups feel it is safe given current restrictions. Create relationships and connections that will help promote reciprocal support. Seek out projects, groups, and individuals who are supporting FCSS and groups being supported by FCSS and promote them as part of good news stories, how Cochrane supports Cochrane. It would be nice to set up an ongoing plan that we revisit and renew yearly for current and upcoming boards. And a comment saying, these are all great ideas. Suggest we ask Marnie and Kim to comment on which are the most practical and workable. Set out the top 2 or 3 as our targets for action in the short term. So thank you to everybody who populated. Marnie, you weren't at our last meeting, but one of the discussions that came out, we were discussing just the mass funding losses that FCSS has been experiencing and trying to figure out a way of how do we provide that education and awareness to our elected officials, to our senior leaders within the town about the work that FCSS does and the impact that we have. So I believe it was Val back in December that made the recommendation that we throw this on the agenda and start talking about how the board can support some of our advocacy efforts and what that looks like. So this was our brainstorming dump of ideas. So I don't want to monopolize.
Okay, this is wonderful. Boy, there's some really good ideas here. And I think the point at the bottom about which might be the most practical. I know it says to ask Marty and Kim, but maybe it's something that we should all comment on as to what, we would like to see us focus on.
And Val, you have a comment too.
Hi. I wonder if after our brainstorming, after listening to your thoughts in regard to, or not your thoughts, but your report coming up, if we shouldn't as a group, I mean, and we're under a little bit of a timeline because you need our support now and you need our voices now, which is what you said just a minute ago. And so I wonder if it wouldn't be a good idea for us to try and set out a little bit of a plan. And three main ideas that stuck out to me after our brainstorming was, number one, we need to know exactly what our message should be. And everybody should be singing the same message, which it seems to me, Kim, should basically be keeping in line with your report.
Oh, that's a great idea.
You are developing a report, you are showing what FCSS has done. And so, I mean, you're the most experienced, you have the most knowledge, obviously. And so we really need to be reflecting how you're feeling and what's going on with you. And we don't want to be contradicting you in any way. So I think that's really important. I think it would be, if that seems comfortable with us, then we really want a clear idea of exactly how we're going to deliver that. So maybe our next brainstorm would be you know, exactly how are we going to, like, who are we targeting and how are we meeting with them, who's meeting with them, and what kind of deadlines can we meet in regard to that personally. You know, some of us are going to be working during the day, so would it be best for us to meet with other people versus another? And so we have a fabulous list of ideas of things we feel we can target. So number one, we have a message from Kim. Number two, then how do we go about delivering that message? You know, do we do that in person? Who do we do that in person with? Where are our top people down? So that might be our next brainstorming. And then maybe, like, then from speaking from the point of view as a board member, and I'm sure other people have thoughts like this, what tools do we think we need that we don't have, or information we don't have about, if I'm going to go sit in front of the MLA, I want to make sure I understand X, Y, Z. So, you know, so as individuals, what tools do we think we need to have in our hands, or understanding, or anything else to make sure that we're prepared and organized and we're taking a good message out that sounds like you need it to sound. So those are kind of my 3 points. What's the message? How will we deliver it? And what tools do we as board members need to make sure we can deliver that in a good way? So that's kind of my starting points as to where do we go from here.
Has Nicole captured them there?
Who are we targeting? How are we meeting
Delivering
them?
that message
And what tools do we need to ensure we're prepared and organized? Yep.
Yep, okay.
So those are kind of the,
Start, yeah.
and like I said, you kind of came out with it because I had kind of been thinking, okay, if this is what we're doing, what are we saying? You know, I'm sure we've all worked for organizations where how we deliver the message, what we say has to be very, very clear, very organized. We have to be careful that we're being representative on a number of levels, right? I think we agreed in the last mass meeting that we want to make sure we're taking a positive message. Yeah, and being a good voice for FCSS. And so we want whoever we're meeting to leave, you know, leave with the feeling that they understood why we were there, and then they were happy to talk to us.
I think that you made a good point. It also needs to be a consistent message from all of us.
Yeah.
You know, we need to make sure we're all following, like you said, what Kim is going to report on, and how we need to provide that kind of detail.
Yeah.
And
So,
Lila, it looked like you have a comment you want to make. No?
Sorry, Mark, to me?
No, Lyle. I thought Lyle had a comment he wanted.
yeah, Lyle and
All
Marty.
right, then. Sorry, I unmute. I thought Marnie had a comment in front of me. Did you have a
I
comment?
didn't see that, but that's fine. Why don't you start and we'll go to Marnie next.
Yeah,
So-
Lyle, go first.
Thank you. So let me try to be brief on this and as scripted as I can so that I don't go off the rails, because I have been known to injure friends with ricochets, right? And that can happen. So
Well, that's
first
okay.
of all, I was pretty
I'll let you know
glad
25 after 7. So there you go.
First of all, I was pretty glad when Val offered to take this on and build the straw horse for us. I have a lot of respect for A, what she puts her mind to gets done, and B, her ability to carry us through this. This is important to me. And I'm not going to, I'm going to be outspoken about our support as a group from this. I got to tell you honestly too, because I have to just get this off my chest. I was a little bit concerned when I was going back to the website over and over again since our last meeting and finding just my comments on there and relatively blank. I actually talked to Nicole and said, like, what am I doing wrong? I'm obviously not seeing everything. So the reason why I bring that up is, I was ecstatic too to go on yesterday and find it fairly well populated. The comment I'm going to make though isn't meant to be criticism as much as guys, we're all in a world of hurt right now, in a world that we don't recognize what's happening south of the border. I don't recognize that, but I know that if we don't continue supporting the things that we love, we're going to lose some of them. So it doesn't matter to me that we're all hurting. We need to support this, and I was a little disappointed to see that there wasn't a whole lot of comments. We talk big sometimes because it's easy at the time, but we have to get ourselves behind it. So I want to just respond to one of Val's comments. I really think that it's a good idea about the standard message, especially when you're talking about higher levels. For example, a comment on there was to talk to Peter Guthrie. One of the things that I know is that timing is everything. And because I was given some really good counsel, I readjusted a phone call I made to the administration here in town and probably did a better job because of that. I was going to talk to Peter Guthrie here this week and chose not to, just because their mind is occupied with other things, namely um, politicians who took vacations when they were telling the rest of us to stay at home, right? So we could talk to Peter about this right now. My fear is that it would just get buried. He's probably got his hands full, but when the time is right, we should fire that one back up. And I really like the idea. I don't know whose idea it was on the addition. Maybe it was yours, Val. Was this should be a regular thing. So we should set it up so that somebody has a standard message, B, FCSS oriented, and it goes to Peter and we meet with him every 60 days or 30 days or whatever. Having said all that and using up all this time, I apologize. But the last thing is there's also a whole level of advocacy that we can do as a group that does not include a whole lot of work. And all that means is that we make sure that we as individuals are talking FCSS whenever we get the chance. And so what that means to me is I've actually made a goal for myself. I actually have a chart and I have to have a conversation. I have to log it once a week with somebody about FCSS. It could happen over a telephone. To me, it doesn't matter. The point is, if I start measuring it in myself, it has to happen and it'll build a habit. What gets measured gets done. And that's one of the things that I think that we can all do as a group is just start talking about FCSS. When it comes to the other level that Val referred to, I'm a big fan of let's have a standard message and somebody who is a little more polished than I am to deliver it, yada, yada, yada. But the small messages we could be sending out every day. And I'll challenge us, guys and girls, how many of us here talked to somebody in our neighborhood about FCSS in the last 30 days? I don't want an answer, but it's important. I'm embarrassed when I have to answer that question for myself. I'm off the soapbox.
Okay, well, thanks, Lyle. I think too, we have to recognize that maybe we have to change how we're going to, sorry guys, that's my dog. We're going to have to look at how we're going to do things now that we can't necessarily get together with neighbors and other people in the community. So how are we going to do some of this maybe virtually and stuff? So it's good comments. Marnie, you had something you wanted to add on this?
Yeah, sorry guys, if you see me shuffling around, I'm making dinner at the same point for my people. On another note, you know, Kim and I talked a long time ago, probably when I was first elected. I was still reporting at that time. I don't even know if I've been elected yet, but I said the one thing that I always find with FCSS is that communication piece. Sometimes you guys do so much great work, but you can do so much great work that nobody ever hears about, right? And sometimes I find that the messaging maybe is late. And I don't necessarily think that's FCSS's fault. I don't know how much control you have over the communication that goes back out to the community. So I'm talking when the town puts things out and then it gets emailed out. Again, it needs to make sure that it is a consistent message sent to all councillors. I mean, I've had this, and this is not just FCSS, this is town in general. I said, you know, when you have information that you want to share, why would you not share it with the people who are sitting in your top positions that probably have a big group of people that they can share that message out to? Now, I realize that not maybe every councilor is even going to do it, but it should be something going forward that maybe look at it's mandated, right? Because I mean, obviously us sharing information as councillors, and if I have 700 people on my Facebook group and you know, Councillor Nagel has 700 on his, there's going to be some overlap, but again, it's constantly speaking the message. I do agree with Valerie on the fact that it's got to be consistent. You can't have, you know, one person going out and talking about one thing about FCSS or kind of even interpreting the facts their own way, right? I think that messaging has to be very, very key. This is, I mean, it's no different than council, right? Like we get speaking notes. This is what you talk about. You don't go off the rails and start talking about your own thing, right? Because the messaging gets lost. but I would also encourage us to reach out to media and have a plan. Like what's a 12-month plan? Like what are we going to be discussing so that each month, but it's not like they get it on the first of the month and then it's kind of almost too late. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like a full 12-month look ahead as to what we're going to be talking about. Every month it's something different. I mean, there's a lot of organizations that do this, whether it's Fire talking about, what's their key messaging per month. They have a whole program that is set up. And then that way we're highlighting every single different thing that you guys do. And people start to become aware that you're more than just an organization that provides some sort of help to people who are underprivileged, because that becomes the key message, right? Other than all the other great things that FCSS does. That's kind of my 2 cents. And I do agree when it comes to the MLA. I think that needs to be a very key person or somebody consistent having that conversation. And I don't know, I'm not going to necessarily pick who that's going to be, but I think that needs to be somebody who's kind of consistent so that it's not obviously in and out. And, especially for Peter, he's a busy man. So I would think consistency is kind of key, but I do agree always staying in front of everyone, in front of council, making sure that they know. And like I said, it is not a criticism on FCSS. I almost wonder if it's not an internal communication issue that we need to work out on our end. And if it is, then please let me know so that I can try to push some of that on my end to make sure that your messaging is going out quickly, effectively. Because sometimes when we get it, it's almost like there's just no, I don't know, it kind of lacks the luster, if you know what I mean, right? So I want to make sure that it's important. It's not just kind of, in the background somewhere. That's my honest opinion anyways.
Okay, so what are some of the others? Gressel, Ryan, Lorraine, what do you guys have any comments that you would like to add?
I do actually. I have lived here 11 years and I just learned about FCSS last year when I joined you. As I looked it up and I looked on your website and stuff. I agree that we should go to the higher ups, the politicians, etc. But I also think we need to do the grassroots. There's a lot of young families in here that have no idea. And I really think that maybe looking at some of the charities or service groups, that might be very helpful. Even some of the programs that we have, I know that they're all separate, but maybe they need to know a little more what's there. It's just my experience. Thank you.
That's good. Ryan, how about you?
I would have to agree with Marnie. If it wasn't for me having friends that work for FCSS or being on the board, I don't know. I always hear about good things, but it's from the board. I don't see, I get social media posts on Facebook and whatnot for stuff that I talk about in my kitchen. So why doesn't FCSS come up?
Yeah.
I think, more media marketing type thing for all the things they do would be really good.
Okay. Gressel, how about you? Did we lose Gressel?
I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember during my interview with you guys, I mentioned about I don't feel the existence of FCSS while I read the report that year. So it may be because the FCSS lack the communication strategies to tell to the people its accomplishment and everything, despite the good activities that FCSS does. Today, the food bank, for instance, is the most sought area by the needy Ukrainians. I mean, but I know this is under FCSS with due respect to the activettes. And people don't know. What they know is it's from activettes and not really connected with FCSS. So again, I agree with what Marmy said, that we need a communication, maybe weekly, report of the status of social setting of Cochrane. Maybe maybe Kim can go online for that matter. And that will be a great opportunity for us to, inform the public of what we do.
Okay, it sounds like everybody's in agreement. How do we want to go forward on this? I still like the idea of picking out some top priorities and focusing on those. What some suggestions do we want to use this board and suggest what we think would be our top priorities, or do we think we've got a plan going forward?
Another recommendation is, sorry, can I speak?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah. In addition to sending, accomplishment to the council, we can also include some group, maybe officers, wherein they have these individual Facebook groups, it could be private or public group that can share. We can share it to them. Maybe we can gather these organizations within Cochrane and utilize this group, particularly their officers, their board members, to disseminate this information.
Okay. Rick, I don't think we've heard from you.
Oh yeah, I just posted a note on in the chat box. I'd like to carry on the thought on social media. I'm a member of a board in another organization that about a year ago, maybe 14 months ago, we got really serious about communicating our message to the public at large through a variety of different social media avenues. And what we do at every board meeting, and this organization is blessed with a communications person. That person reports at the board level just to let us know our likes and how we're doing in terms of our LinkedIn and everything else that we're up to. And this brings me full circle to, and I'm not sure if it was Ryan who mentioned it. I don't think I've got the right person, but the idea, oh, yeah, it was Lorraine and Ryan. But the point is that the message getting out to the younger members of Cochrane's populace, guess what? We've got a natural avenue for that. And I'm just getting at the idea that if this organization, this other organization that I'm part of, is doing it, tracking it very carefully. And by the way, the likes are going up, up, up. So what I'm getting at is it's a little bit like a snowball happening here, and it's a good thing. So I'm going to be right on side with the idea of getting more involved in social media communication. Thanks.
Okay, so how do we, oh, Ryan, you have a comment?
Sorry, I had to find my mute. Well, because I'm not good with social media at all, but I have I've got a lot of friends that do marketing and advertising, and they always talk about how it's such a big thing now. And I don't really understand that, but just looking at like FCSS posts every day, it's just, I don't think it's connecting to many people, because if you look at their posts, there's only 1, 2, 3, like in the last 2 weeks, I saw maybe 5 likes. And I know that means nothing, but it does nowadays. And it's so weird. So I think there should be a way to maybe get more people involved that way. I just don't know how.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess we've got more comments. We'd like to go next. Valerie?
All right, I'll jump in. We have lots of great ideas, from social media to meeting with different people, to, and like I mentioned, we started out with okay, what are we going to say next? We want to, who are we going to say it to? What I wonder is, would it be a good assignment? And I agree with Lyle, it's not something that we can let go. You know, I quickly jumped in and make sure I added stuff before the meeting. So I'm not going to take any credit for something. I want to make sure I did my homework so I didn't get in trouble. But that was, you know, but I like everyone else know that, you know, especially over that December month, everything slides away. So sometimes maybe it's easier to take in smaller bites. And I wonder if it would be like, if we have an idea of what we might say, if it would be a good idea to have a 1 week brainstorm of who are we going to talk to? Or would people rather discuss what avenues are we going to use? Because we are, again, going back to Kim's comments, under a bit of a timeline, in that now we're on a short-term crunch, and then reflecting what Marnie said, saying we also need to have a 12-month plan. So we need to have a short-term message to say, hey, funding people, we need to introduce ourselves to you right now so that we make sure we do everything we can to get funding to FCSS. And then past that, what's our 12-month plan? Just so that we can be really organized and so that our messaging can be clear. One thing about some of the things that we've discussed is, if we're doing the advocacy, what are our thoughts about the fact that it's nice that it's the board members doing the advocacy. I don't know that it's fair to be adding workload to Kim and Nicole. And so when I'm keeping these things in mind, I'm keeping in mind things that we as individuals will step up to do. Everybody, of course, having different abilities to commit extra time and, you know, and availability during day, evenings, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to go back and just do that. Short term, would it be okay to do a very short 1 week brainstorm of who do we want to talk to and set a quick priority list? And then a short-term plan, and then a long-term plan. And last question, just out to the group. This is, I think, something that the board needs to do versus trying to add too much more to Kim and Nicole. And I'll step out.
Yeah, although I do think they need to be involved, just simply because
I just don't want it to be their workload. Involved, absolutely, but as
we want to
far
make sure that we don't just derail ourselves on something that isn't doable, you know.
right, yeah, exactly.
And that's where it comes into this whole social media thing and push versus pull. And you know, where are we best fitted putting our energies into, you know, which part of this will get the attention that we want it to get. I think somebody else had another comment. Marnie, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I mean, as council, so I mean, normally I mean, in a normal year, we meet with, you know, community association heads, right? So we'd sit around table and find out some of the concerns that they had. But I've often wondered, is the community association head the right person to be chatting with? Sometimes no. I mean, there are people in positions that are on community associations that are presidents that just are unwilling to let go because, you know, they've just been there for a long time, but they aren't social media savvy. They aren't pushing out any messaging. They're just there every month or every 3 months, kind of, you know, degressing the problems within their community, which is, I totally understand. But we all know, or I think some of us know, I don't want to say the loud mouse, the people who are very boisterous in each of our communities, whether or not you live in River Song, you live in Sunset like I do, you live in Heartland, or in some cases, I mean, I even know some of the presidents that are the really progressive presidents that are constantly chatting. I think that if we can get that message out to those people and ask them to share it within their circles, social media wise, perhaps they go on their Heartland Life page or the Heritage Hills page. They all have pages, right? The more people that are talking and putting out the message, and this is where it comes back, it's got to be a consistent message, but the more people that are talking about that same consistent message, they automatically start to come back to where we need to go, which is ideally the website, right? Or the Facebook, or wherever we're going to direct them with the most relevant, up-to-date information. But I think that we all know those people. Maybe we start with making a list of the people in those communities, and it doesn't have to just be one person. It can be a few but helping us to push out the message. Because obviously, you're right, not everybody is social media savvy. Some people don't want to be on social media, period, including me on most days. But if we can start to kind of channel them out and use them to help push out our message, it's free, it costs nothing, but it's probably more effective than sticking it on a billboard that somebody sees and occasionally just forgets.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents.
Oh, I think those are great ideas. How do we want to move forward then? Is there some sort of, like, I love that idea of putting together a list for all of our different communities. I could certainly do that for our area. How do we, you know,
Can I
some
make
ideas,
a
but Kim,
suggestion?
what do you think? Let's go back to Kim and see what do you think, Kim?
Well, Lyle wants to jump in first and then
Okay.
So something Marnie said really made sense to me, and I support Val's focus on message. If I could make, I had a question for Marnie, but I'm going to ask the question and I'm going to solicit the answer offline. And the question is just if you could identify some of your counselor partners that we may want to focus on to help increase our awareness at that level. What I was going to say, though, I'm going to solicit the answer to that offline, is that I think what we're talking about with the plan here is different levels of communication. Because when you're talking about contacting Peter Guthrie, that's a whole different message than you want to be talking about just with your neighbor over wine, right? And both of them are effective, and both of them I think are necessary. So here's one comment: timing is everything. And with Mike Derricott, I do think that we've probably got a couple of weeks before we really want to get some hooks into there or get him some exposure, because I've seen people in that role where you come to a new community, new job, and for the first 2 weeks, you're just trying to absorb things. After that, you get locked. So if we can latch into him, the sooner the better. Having said all that, would it make sense to do just a little subcommittee, maybe 3 or 4 people or 2 or 3 people put together some of these ideas that I've heard put out, come up with just some, again, straw horses for everybody else to shoot holes in, and then bring it back to the group again? Otherwise, I'm afraid this one will just die a natural death, right?
That's a good suggestion. Let's hear what Kim has to say, or Ryan, I think you had something to add as well. Maybe see what Ryan has to say.
Well, I was just going back to the social media because I know that I'm a part of the River Song group, and before, my next door neighbor used to be a part of FCSS, and I saw her post just like upcoming stuff with FCSS on that group almost daily. So that brings me back to, yeah, I haven't seen anything lately, but she's no longer with FCSS. So maybe that's why. But if we're all part of some sort of community group, that would be a fairly easy way. Just have a schedule of like posting some stuff in that community group. But yeah, that's it.
Okay, Kim, we'll go over to you now.
All right. I appreciate all of the comments and the discussion incredibly. Communication, I don't even have words for it. It's hard. It's so hard, especially when you're talking about something like FCSS. So one of the things that we're even talking about here is we struggle as well to come up with how do we explain what we do in a good way that makes sense. And I'm going to talk about this. I was giving my council presentation a whole bunch of thought, even on how do you explain what happens out of our building, because it's actually incredible and it's massive. We were one of the biggest departments in the entire town of Cochrane, but we're different than anybody else because every single office in our building has a different job, a different focus. We're not like the firemen where there's 40 of them, but they all kind of do the same thing. We are all very, very different. We do everything from prevention to early intervention to intervention work. We are here for everyone. We serve adults, we serve families, we serve children, youth, seniors. We're here for newcomers. We make sure people have all their basic needs like food, clothing, and shelter. We help with things like utilities when people struggle to pay their utilities. We help community organizations, right? We help the leaders within those organizations become better leaders. We build capacity in different organizations. We get organizations in the same room so we can talk, so there isn't that duplication of services. So the breadth of what we do is like, it's really massive and it's hard. I started working on my presentation for council, and the only 2 words that I can come up with that actually sum up what FCSS does is we help. And we literally help everybody to different degrees in the community. And I love, Val, that you brought up messaging, because I do think that consistent messaging is really important. And if we who work inside these 4 walls have trouble putting together what we actually do, I can't imagine how it would feel for a board member to try to explain what we do in a way that makes sense. So we will put together some good messaging and some speaking notes that I think maybe be able to help everybody. In terms of communication and out to the world, it's been an ongoing struggle. I think people don't always associate FCSS with all the work that happens. And like Ryan said, we do put out social media posts. I think Corey does it daily, or like at least like probably several times a day through our social media accounts and whatever. What we have found here is, unless you're actually looking for something, that information doesn't actually go into your head, because we see so much information all the time, and unless it's applicable and relevant to you, it often just escapes you. So it's a question of how do we make it relevant to different people. And I had one more thought. Around communication and newspaper, like it's not something that we're good at necessarily. Nicole just posted the We Are Here campaign as well, but we're a very different sort at FCSS. We're real nice people, and we're actually really humble people, which is a really bad combination. Our team is really busy doing really good work. A lot of the work that we do, we actually can't talk about. And we don't talk a lot about, because it's about clients and personal stories and those kind of things. So it's sometimes hard to actually capture what we actually do in a way that makes sense. And the more our staff teams reduce, the harder it becomes for us to have the time to even be able to talk about it after. So I'm open and willing to hear people's suggestions, and I just appreciate that this conversation is happening.
Well, I don't think we're gonna get everything solved tonight, but would it be a plan for going forward be for you to do that messaging for us to give us an idea, as you said, of what that should be? And then I don't know who made this suggestion, but I think it is good if we put things into smaller groups and sort of focus on, like, chunk it up and say, okay, what's the top priority that we want to look at, and then go from there and sort of put them into some sort of a strategy. What does everybody think?
Kim, like, I kind of sum it up to kind of what you said about the firefighters. The firefighters have like a 12-month awareness campaign, right? And I realize that you're not going to nail every single program, obviously, that FCSS does. but maybe having kind of a plan in in front of us is like, hey, what are we going to talk about this month? And it might not even be totally relevant 100% as to what is exactly going on in the community. But again, it gets people talking about the different things that you do, right? The different programs and the different facets that we're covering, so that it's not like each month we're talking kind of about the same positive stories, which are good, but yet we're almost creating awareness around the different aspects of what people can reach out to FCSS for. Because I agree with you. I mean, if you're only talking about one thing, people just assume that's all you're covering. And the stuff with Corey doing social media stuff, I would encourage Corey to take those posts and even, and I mean, God forbid she's going to kill me for suggesting this, but taking them and forwarding them to freaking council and saying, hey, council, this is what's going on. And especially if it might not even be daily, but especially if it's something per week, that, hey, can you please share this? And really being direct about what to put out there. Because to be honest, after 5 committees, 2 council meetings, probably strat planning and sitting on 2 other personal committees, yeah, I'm probably not on the website. And so I probably don't go on Facebook and see what she's actually been posted in probably the past 6 months, to be quite honest. So if she can forward it to me personally, I can share that out I can share that information out on my social media and as well as my council page. And Lyle made a great comment, and I think that this is something that I'll definitely challenge myself with, is that often at the end of council meetings, after the mayor speaks for usually about 5 or 10 minutes straight, most of us are just ready to kind of shut up and kind of move on and go home. But I will make some points to make sure that FCSS is in my conversation every single council meeting that I go to, once a month anyways, for our meetings, to be able to update people as to what we've talked about. I think, Lyle, you made a great point. That is something I will personally do and challenge myself to make sure that gets done.
Very nice. Would it be fair too to say that if Corey was sending this out to people on council, they know who Corey is, so they would pay attention to it? Is that something?
I'm not sure if all of council pays attention to who's all even on council at this point, but you know what? That's just between us. I mean, you know what? It is worth a stab. You know what? You can't force people to share out information, but you know what? Become the annoying fly even, and I hate to say that just constantly keeps putting the message out, eventually something sticks. And like I said, remember, divisive council, there's always going to be somebody who's going to share the message. So I think that is the most important thing, because honestly, if it goes on Facebook I agree with Kim, unless you're looking for it, you're not necessarily sharing some of those things that are valuable information going out. And like I said, it doesn't have to be every day, but even if it's once a week, something that's really important that needs to go out.
Does everybody on the board follow the town pages, like our pages, Cochrane Programs and Activities, and the Family Resource Network?
I don't do it regularly, but I do go on.
It sometimes gets lost though in the feed,
Okay,
right?
so yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
also, like Kim was saying, like it is push versus pull. I only go on when I have time and take a look. Unless, someone needs something, would they even know to do that,
Exactly.
One of the things Nicole just brought to my attention that we did too in the past is, I don't know if you guys remember these.
Yeah.
We Are Here campaign. So we initiated that. It did come to a halt just around COVID, but this was one of our ideas too, of trying to help explain who we are. And we had 1 million different images and targets, and these were in the newspaper. We had it every second week. So it's funny because FCSS is literally out there. The Need Help campaign, all the social recovery task force information that's been going out to the community, the things you can do, like all of those have been out, but it's hard to notice a lot of it. So
Valerie, I think you had your hand up. Is there something you want to add?
Well, are we looking for a where do we go from here? Like we've had lots of ideas. Are we now looking for a, okay, so what do we do now?
Yeah, that's what we're trying to decide now. Yeah.
Okay. From what I've heard, does it make sense to everybody that one thing that we've expressed is that we have a short-term goal of really needing to talk to some key politicians for advocacy and funding?
I don't know if we decided that we needed to talk to specific people.
Okay.
I think we did decide that we need to decide, like what Kim's going to do is put together what the message is that
Right.
we should be focusing on. And from there, then we develop a plan. And I think Marnie was saying that, you know, maybe that's going to, or Corey sending out different messages because she's already got that stream going. I'm not sure.
Val, you had that was a two-part question. You had a separate part.
Yeah, and I guess the where, you know, the key people to speak to comes from Kim's comment that, you know, their funding decisions are going to be coming out in February, March.
Right.
So putting ourselves in front of some key people in the short term may be beneficial to that specifically. And the other thing that I've heard people say, you know, repeatedly is that we need a 12-month plan, how we're going to go about that. And so maybe part two is that we work on a, you know, whether it's monthly messaging, like Marnie mentioned, whether it's, you know, and separate though from what Corey and Kim are doing. So this is as individual board members, how do we now take out and who do we take a monthly message to? Or, you know, is monthly too much? I don't know. So, you know, two parts. Number one, short term, what maybe Kim, what would be the most helpful for you from us in the short term in regard to advocacy and your short term goals of some funding things that are going to be coming out?
In terms of the advocacy piece, it is a bit tricky because without the messaging, it's hard to go
Right.
do those conversations. In terms of Peter Guthrie, I actually meet with Drew and Riley both tomorrow morning. And one of the things that I've been working on is drafting a letter to MLA Guthrie, written by Mayor Janung. I haven't asked the mayor yet, but I'm sure he will support it, because the letters that are written by our officials to another official are often more read than a letter that would just be written like by a peon such as myself in the organization. So I've drafted a letter. I just need to get approval through Drew and Riley to send that to the MLA. I would be happy to share that letter with you guys so you can see what information is going out along with a copy of a summary report. Once we have messaging, I just about the importance of FCSS and who we are and the value. So once I get the fact sheet complete, I can do up some speaking notes and some of that information. Then I don't think I think it's beneficial to get that message out, as long as it's a consistent message, right? And we're kind of sending that right thing.
Yep.
I would need probably, what's the date today? The 6th. So I would need probably till the 25th of January to be able to pull all of that together realistically. That would give me a couple weeks, and could have that out to people by then. I could commit to that. In terms of Mike Derricott and Drew, I saw both of them as well in here to have some conversations. I think those are really important, and we could definitely invite them to a board meeting as well. I'd want to make sure we have a structure and a plan kind of around what we hope to accomplish. Lyle, you just laugh at me. But I think if we could come up with a plan and what we want their takeaways to be and what we're hoping they walk away with, I would love to invite them to one of our meetings to meet you guys and have a bit of an understanding. That one I don't see as critical as needing to happen as quickly as like the MLA kind of advocacy, but would fully support having both of them come to a meeting as well.
Sounds good.
So if you have a letter, it's going from the mayor, is there a benefit to us then following up with that very same information? Maybe having some board members make an appointment with Mr. Guthrie and say, you've been receiving some information. I mean, MLAs, we're constituents. So all we have to do is phone and say, I'd like an appointment. And I mean, it's not going to happen in an hour, but we have the right to go speak to our MLA. And then of course, if we're doing so as a representative, we want to be 100% sure that we are only taking information that you would like delivered. So but is that a benefit to then follow up with the letter, with a meeting, just to sit down in front of them and say, do you have any further questions? Did you receive that information? What more would you like to know about Cochrane? So on and so forth.
Yeah.
Actually, he's got a suggestion here too. Maybe, what is it, Marnie? I think she said invite him maybe to a meeting, one of our board meetings.
Yeah, I mean, no different than inviting, Mike Derricott, the new CAO, or Drew to a meeting. I mean, why not invite Peter and have him sit in on a meeting? It'd have to be relatively quick. Obviously, we maybe have one, so it'd have to be the next meeting. But it might not be a bad idea. I mean, I agree with you, Valerie. I mean, constituents have an opportunity. It's just that, to be quite honest, Peter's an extremely busy, hardworking MLA. I can't imagine the pressure that he's under. I feel the pressure as a municipal councillor. Peter's got it about 1,000-fold right now. And I kind of agree with what somebody said earlier, just about all the stuff that's going on. I mean, you could sit down and talk to him now, but is it really worth it? Because I don't know how much is that even going to sink in. The UCP at this point are just trying to stay afloat, I think. So I think, if we could maybe send out an invite to him, and whether or not the first meeting in February or even the March meeting works, let's try to get it on his calendar. And even if we have to maybe adjust our meeting, I would certainly be willing to do that to make it work around Peter's schedule. That might be my suggestion. And then he can kind of sit in and see kind of round table. And then it's all our thoughts, not just, one person going forward with a demand or one person sitting down and having coffee with him.
No, that's a good idea. Kim, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I think it's a possibility. There's protocol that we have to follow, though. I can't just call Peter like working down. So I'm different. Like, yes, I am a constituent like everybody else, but I also work for the municipality and have my protocols that I need to follow. So I can definitely look into that and see if that would be.
What if Marg invited him to a meeting?
Yeah, we could
as the board chair versus yourself, Kim, because you, of course, are an employee of the town and therefore need to respect, that hierarchy. Does that come any differently if Marg invites him?
Can I, Mark, can I email you tomorrow and let you know, or I'll send one out to the whole board? I need to double check what that is.
Yep.
FCSS is a council of the town of Cochrane, is a
Yep.
board of the town of Cochrane.
Yeah.
So even though it's a little bit different and Mark's not a town employee, she's still the chair of a board.
Representative, yep.
The municipality. So
yeah,
I just
do the protocol.
The other thing though with MLA Guthrie, when you were talking about setting up meetings and whatnot, the other thing is we will have our summary reports printed off and done. So it might be a good opportunity to go meet and like actually face-to-face hand him a copy of the work that FCSS does as well. So, and then it's like hard cold facts inside a book.
Good idea.
Okay, so is that, help me out here, Valerie, and everybody else. Is that a plan then for going forward? Kim's going to do the messaging And then we're going to look at inviting some of these people perhaps to one of our future meetings.
Yeah. The other question that I have, I know Nicole and I asked, I don't know if it was December or November, about presentations and having some of our team come to board meetings and actually present on some of the work that they're doing and some of the programs that we're offering. So you have more knowledge and more of an understanding of some of the work that happens. Is that of interest still?
I think it is for me. I don't know about others.
Me too.
Is there specific areas that you would be more interested in that we should arrange to start in February?
Not for me. I think it's however you want to prioritize that would be fine.
I'm on side with that too, Kim. There have been so many changes there in your organization, and you've done a great job keeping us up to speed, but I depend on you to give us at least a start.
Okay. Does everyone have trust in me?
Yes.
Awesome.
And Kim, we had also just talked about having a coffee with your staff at some point, just as a casual social type of thing to sort of say hi to everybody and, you know, look at putting names and faces together, making sure we all knew each other. Is that still something that we want to pursue?
We typically do that in September. We canceled September's because of COVID, because we usually do it in person. But if it's are you thinking like you want a virtual coffee, Mark?
Yeah, like just something, you know, because there's been so many changes, you know, as a board, we want to let them know we support them and, you know, want to support them through all these changes. I don't know if that's something that we need to consider. It's just an idea that I kind of will throw out there.
We could look at that. Let me give it some thought. One of the things that immediately comes is if it's an evening thing, then my team all is overtime as well, and it's kind of extra hours that they're required to do in the evening as well. Would presentations be enough if I had 2 or 3 people come, like one month and then 2 and 3 are come another month to slowly start putting faces to names rather than like everybody whooshing in at one time?
Yeah, I think that'd be good. What about it? How about it? Does everybody else feel? Do we see heads nodding or sound
I
good?
sure agree. I just can't, you know, if you bring 6 people into a room, and I'm not going to remember them all, I got to be honest with you. But 1, 2, or 3, you bet.
Fair enough.
Okay, we'll get that set up and to be able to start next meeting in February.
Okay, sounds good. So are we good to move on now, or is there anything? I have to admit, I'm not sure what's up next.
I think the only thing I would encourage is to have those individual conversations with people about FCSS as well. I think that's critically important. Word of mouth is way more powerful than anything else. And if you don't like our Facebook pages, like them and watch and share them out to whoever you know in your world.
Well, I have to, and probably it will surprise most of you, but I'm like Ryan, I don't do Facebook. I've never subscribed to it. It's not something that I'm comfortable with, but there are lots of other ways that we can do it. So you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she's putting the agenda up. So
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have to leave. I have a really important phone call I have to make. So I'm going to have to say goodbye to you people.
okay, well, thanks, Lorraine.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully you can share your what's been happening with you at our next meeting.
Okay, and I look forward to advocating and helping you people, and I certainly will try myself. So I will see you next meeting, if not before.
Okay,
Thank you.
Rain. Okay, is there anything that we wanted to finish off on the well, now I can't even talk. The advocacy part, or are we okay on that for now? Well, everybody's smiling, so are we good to go on to the standing items then? So fundraising, is there anything you want to add there, Kim?
No, not in particular, just that I think we can table this for a few months.
Well,
but
I have a question on it, and I don't know enough about this, and I didn't have time to look at it before our meeting. But apparently there's an organization or a fundraising group out there called Be Connect or something. And I was just wondering if anybody has heard anything about it. But they do have different ideas and suggestions for different fundraising.
No, I've never heard of it, Mark.
Okay, well, I'll try to find out more information on it, and maybe I'll bring that forward for the next meeting.
Sure, that would be awesome. I don't see fundraising as a priority right at this moment.
No, but this was just some ideas for supporting different groups through our new normal or whatever we're going through. So I just thought it might be something worth just, being aware of, I guess.
Yeah, and we will have to do one during 2021 for sure.
Yeah.
But we can table that for a little bit too.
Well, and hopefully we can be looking at some of this in real time for the fall or something, because surely, I better be careful here, but hopefully COVID will start to go on the downside.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd be willing to pull out that jail cell again if we can all be within a certain confined space of each other. I'd certainly be willing to do it again. And we all know businesses, I mean, not all businesses are sucking right now. There are some businesses who have done probably extremely, if not 3 times the amount of what they've normally done. So those are the people that we go after in a case like this. But, if we can all be in the same cell, perfect. We'll make sure that arrests are given.
Well, I think that's great. And that was a lot of fun, I have to admit. For those of you that weren't there, you will enjoy it. So yeah. Okay, so we'll go on to Cochrane Cares.
I've got nothing.
Okay, and next up is United Way, and I've got nothing unless, Kim, you've heard anything, or is there still going to be a meeting with United Way, or virtual meeting with United Way yet, or is anything finalized there?
Haven't heard anything at all yet. The only update that I had was the funding's continuing. So.
Okay, rural update. Rick, do you have anything for us?
Actually, no, Marg, I don't. There's nothing really to add, nothing exciting out to the east of Cochrane that I can report on.
Okay, well, things have been calm and quiet here. I know that we got through hunting season here relatively calm, although we did have a few oopses. But for the most part, we've been in discussion with most of the neighbors in the area, and things have been quiet. There's not a lot of, other than couriers coming out, which has been a novelty for us because we, Canada, I think I mentioned it at the last meeting, Canada Post rezoned. So now we can actually get courier packages. So if we're done with that, we'll go on to the caregiver. Rick, you got some updates for us?
Yeah, just a few things to mention. We're hopefully going to be starting a new program. This is with the newly designed program as well, but new meaning new for 2021. On January 19th, we'd start our first session. I haven't been in contact with Tracy as yet, so I don't know what our likely turnout would be. I'll keep you posted on that. But it's going to be one where Jenny, Jessica, and I have decided to kind of unite, and we'll do a 3 on whoever or however many people there are in the group. So we can all, as facilitators, be exposed to the new program, which we've now all been trained in. It'll be our first go, but it's also our first go virtually. And so want to make sure that technology is right and that we're being able to manage the participants in the program in a very meaningful way, as I mentioned, virtually. So a few challenges on the horizon for us on this one, but I'll certainly give you a report next time as to how well it's worked. Hopefully we do get a turnout. As I mentioned, we need about 8 to 10 folks to attend the program. So all I can do is promise to keep you posted at our next meeting.
Okay, well, it sounds interesting, Rick, and yeah, I hope you get the turnout. It would be nice to see this keep on going here.
Well, thanks, Marg, and you know, the tip of the hat to you too. And another thing that I'll be involved in with Mark and her team over at Cochrane Hospice is tomorrow night. They've asked me to, you know, give them a bit of a rundown, give their group a rundown on what the program is all about, and I'm delighted to do that and take a few questions. So yeah, we're moving ahead with a little more exposure in the community.
Well, and I think it's all about, as I think has been said before, making sure that we work together as groups. So it'll be good. Looking forward to that. And Marnie, you had a comment? Oh, I think we lost Marnie. But anyway, she was, I think she was asking if there's, oh, there she is.
I'm sorry, I'm still here. I'm like shuffling around. I was just wondering if we can help you out, Rick. Do you have anything that we can share to encourage people to come? Any sort of graphic or any information that you can even message me personally and I'll put it out for you?
Yeah, actually, yeah, and I will get it over to you. It's about a 1.5 to 2 minute video clip on what Caregivers is about. And if that works for you, I can get it over to you.
Absolutely. And you know what? And then I'll share it back out to council. And I think that's exactly what we're all talking about, is just making sure that we have the information that we're all talking about and the ability to share it, right? Because even if one person shares it, it's better than nobody sharing it, right? So
yeah.
No, I think it's a great idea. And Caregivers Alberta put that little clip together, and it summarizes the program really well. So, and it's up to date. So sure, I'll get it to you.
And I think that's the link you shared with us, Rick, and it is really excellent. So yes.
It is one and the same. Yep.
Yeah, so sounds good. Okay, guys, I think we're just about ready to call it a night. Is there anything anyone adds before we go on to the board updates or the member updates? Well, Valerie, why don't you kick us off? How have you been over since Christmas and New Year's? And
Nice quiet Christmas, I'm sure, like everybody else had. And as all, everybody's healthy and everything was good. Not too eventful. I'm not sure anybody had too much eventful happening in the last few weeks, but nothing to complain about. So
yeah, that's good. Marnie, what about you?
yeah, you know what? Christmas was quiet. You know, my ex and I do amazing somewhat job in co-parenting. And so I actually celebrated Christmas and New Year's with him and his girlfriend. It was slightly, you know, at moments kind of awkward. But you know what? It's good for my kids and it's good for our family dynamic. And so you know what, when people tell you, and I have girlfriends that say, you know what, we are an anomaly that does not exist in the world, and I have to tell you, it can't be done. But you gotta sometimes swallow your pride and make it work. And we do what we can for our kids, and they always come first. And his girlfriend, God bless her, has no children. And so I always think, holy God, to take on 3 other kids that are not your own, good on you. So anyways, that's how I spent my holidays.
Well, very nice. It's an example, I think, for a lot. Rick, how about you? You want to go next?
Well, sure. I just wanted to share with everybody that I had a wonderful vacation in Hawaii, moved from there to Cancun and then over to Barbados, and came back through the United States to make sure that I did it properly and flew back to Calgary yesterday. So with that in mind, I had a very quiet Christmas, New Year's break just here at the house, and it was very nice. Did a lot of Zooming with my kids, and I think technology, God bless it, served us well.
Very nice, very nice. Lyle, how about you?
It was good. We have the luxury of having so much family right near us. So Christmas was, although we didn't get to see them Christmas, I mean, you kind of feel their presence. So that was fine. Still struggling with the loss of my wife's mother in November. Had little appreciation for what kind of energy that was going to take out of the family. But we are slowly working through that. I do have, why would you laugh at after that comment, right? I do have this slide PDF file I was going to share with folks about. It explains politics if you want to know. If you want, I'll send you this PDF file. It's hilarious, or I could read it to you. Your call.
How long is it?
60 seconds.
Oh, is everybody okay if Lyle goes for it? You're on, Lyle.
So I didn't see anybody nod yes, but so this is just a PDF that explains politics. It's important to understand all the stuff in today's turmoil because communism is where you've got two cows. The state takes both cows and it gives you some milk. Socialism is where you have two cows, you give one to your neighbor. Fascism is you got two cows, the state takes both cows and sells you some milk. Bureaucratism is you got two cows, the state takes both, shoot one, milks the other, and throws away the milk. Traditional capitalism, this is important now, I want you to pay attention. You got two cows. You sell one, you buy a bull. Your herd multiplies and the economy grows. You sell them and you retire on the income. That's traditional capitalism, but this is venture capitalism. This is probably more like reality. You've got two cows. You sell three of them to your publicly listed company using letters of credit opened by your brother-in-law at the bank, then execute a debit equity swap with an associated general offer. So you get all four cows back with the tax exemption for five cows. The milk rights of the six cows are transferred via an intermediary to a Cayman Island company secretly owned by a majority shareholder who sells all the rights to seven cows back to your listed company. The annual report says the company owes 8 cows with an option to buy one more. This is an Italian corporation. You got 2 cows, but you don't know where they are, so you decide to have lunch. The French corporation says you got 2 cows. You go on strike, organize a riot, block the roads because you want 3 cows. The American corporation, you got 2 cows. You sell one, you force the other to produce the milk of 4 cows. Later, you hire a consultant to analyze why the cow died. And the Swiss corporations, you got 5,000 cows. None of them belong to you. You charge the owners for storing them. The Irish corporation is you got 2 cows. One of them's a horse. The Australian corporation's got 2 cows. Business seems pretty good. You close office and you go for a few beers to celebrate. The Chinese corporation's got 2 cows. You have 300 people milking them. You claim you've got full employment, high bovine productivity, and you arrest a newsman who reported the real situation. The Indian corporation's got 2 cows and you worship them both. The Iraqi corporation, everybody thinks you got a lot of cows. You tell them you don't have any cows, nobody believes you, so they bomb the crap out of you and they invade your country. You still have no cows. At least now you're a democracy. The British corporation's got 2 cows. They're both mad. This is the last one, I promise. You got 2 cows borrowed from a French and German banks. You eat both of them. The bank calls to collect their milk, but you cannot deliver, so you call the IMF. The IMF loans you 2 cows. You eat both of them. The bank and the IMF call to collect their cows. You're out getting a haircut. Politics are a wonderful thing, and corporations are a wonderful thing.
Well, thank you, Lyle. Okay, Ryan, how about you?
Not much here. We had a quiet Christmas, which was nice because we usually do hours and hours worth of driving between households and cities. So it was really nice to just stay.
And how is things going with the,
Tyler?
yeah.
He's good. He actually, because they found a more permanent situation for him now.
Okay.
So he actually is moving back to Calgary on Friday.
Oh,
Yeah. And then that way he's closer to his family and stuff.
oh, okay. Oh,
Mhm.
nice. And how is the community thing? Do you do anything virtually with the community, or with trying to do some of the get-togethers that you were doing?
We were gonna, but then I actually decided, because it seemed like a really stressful month, November and December. So I told everybody to take a break to regroup, because it was just like everybody was losing focus and people just needed to, step back and spend some quality Zoom time with their family.
Yeah. Well, good. Good on you. Nicole, how about you? How have things been?
Not too bad. Just quiet Christmas and New Year's, of course, like everybody else. That's about it. Some Zoom, hanging out at home, watched a lot of movies, built a rink in my backyard so my kids can skate. So that's
Wow.
good. Gives me peace and quiet for at least 2 hours so I can get some work done while they're home from school. Yeah, just plugging through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kim, how about you?
Same as everyone. It was nice and quiet, and I think I had 6 days in a row off, so it was quite
Whoa.
good. We snowshoed every day. I bought my family snowshoes for Christmas, so we just were out and played and snowshoed, and I came back to work feeling just about human again. So it was beautiful.
Oh, nice, nice.
I do have one thing that I forgot to tell people, if
Uh-oh.
you don't mind me jumping in. Dr. Jody Carrington. So the Social Recovery Task Force has been doing a speaker series, and our last speaker that we have organized to come is Dr. Jody Carrington. She is hilarious, like absolutely hilarious. She's speaking on grief in the pandemic, and you will love her. It's free. Typically, she charges quite a bit. She's basically the Brene Brown of Canada. So she's absolutely amazing. She uses incredibly vulgar language, so you will be entertained throughout. She's highly inappropriate, and it's going to be awesome. So she's speaking on grief in the pandemic on January 26th. It's a Tuesday night at 7 p.m.
A link that you can send us to that, or?
Yep, we could send out the link. Also, if you like Facebook, our Facebook page, Programs and Opportunities, you will also find it on there. So you could share it out to all your contacts as well.
For those of us that don't do Facebook, though, you'll send us the link, eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it will be recorded and available for, I think we have it for 1 month after, 2 months. Oh, Nicole's shaking her head at me.
Trying to find the unmute button. I have too many screens open. Only have it for 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. I just saw you do this, and
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's a big deal. We have to abide by all her rules.
Yes, we do. Okay. Gressel, how about you?
Yeah, unlike Rick, no foreign travels, not even out of town. But COVID really did us against our, Christmas traditions, gathering, family gathering, friends, a neighborhood, etc. We actually used that one, but this one is a quiet one. But we are proud and happy that we, of course, contributed to the decline of COVID numbers.
Well, this is good. I know we were good through the holidays too. We were we have our bubble. The grandkids are out here with us. My daughter has a trailer, and it was just quiet, and we enjoyed, and it was nice to have some downtime, and just like everybody else, hanging in there. So if that's it, guys, I think we're done. The next meeting, Nicole, I think I saw we're doing February the 6th, correct?
Yeah, the 10th, I think.
Oh, the 10th, sorry.
Yeah, that second Wednesday of the month instead of the first
Yeah.
Wednesday, because then we'll have the final reports back from the groups
Yes.
from
yeah.
2020 grants.
Yes, exactly. Okay, is there anything more to add, or is that it, guys? Are we good for this meeting? Good stuff, everyone. Good discussions. Wow. Okay, we can sign off. I love the thumbs up.
Good night, everybody.
Yes, good night.